She thought the divorce had taken everything, her dignity, her home, her sense of security. When the bank came knocking and forced her out of the only house she had left, neighbors whispered that she had finally lost it all. But what no one expected was that the very next day, the bank manager would reveal a secret so shocking, it would change the course of her life forever. Before we begin this emotional story of injustice, resilience, and redemption, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. These stories will grip your heart and keep you watching until the very last moment. The sound of the deadbolt clicking into place echoed like a gunshot. Emma stood on the porch, her palms pressed flat against the faded blue door that had once meant safety. A locksmith she didn't recognize was turning away, avoiding her eyes. Beside him, a bank representative in a gray suit adjusted his tie with clinical precision. "Ms. Hayes," the man said, voice as smooth as paper. "The foreclosure process is complete. You'll need to vacate immediately. The bank has taken possession." Emma's throat tightened. "But this is my house. I've been here 12 years. My daughter grew up in that bedroom. You can't just..." The man didn't flinch. "You were informed months ago. Payment default is clear. If you have further questions, you may contact the branch manager." Her chest heaved. "I tried. I left messages. No one called me back." The man nodded once, perfunctory, before walking away with the locksmith. Their car doors shut in unison. The engine started, then faded down the street, leaving Emma standing alone on the porch of what had, until a moment ago, been her home. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. One or two lingered on porches, whispering. Emma forced herself to lift her chin, though her cheeks burned with humiliation. A cold wind cut through her thin sweater. She tightened her grip on the small suitcase at her side, the only thing she'd managed to pack before the men came. Her daughter, Hannah, just 13, sat on the curb hugging her backpack. Confusion and anger etched across her face. "They locked us out, Mom," she said, her voice cracking. "Where are we supposed to go?" Emma sat beside her, pulling Hannah close. She smelled the faint trace of lavender shampoo in her daughter's hair, a fragile reminder of normal life. "We'll figure it out," she whispered, though the words tasted like ash. They walked to the bus stop with nowhere in mind. Emma's phone buzzed relentlessly. Calls from numbers she didn't recognize, emails flooding with late notices and offers from cheap motels. Every ping was a reminder of what she'd lost. That night, they ended up at a shelter on the edge of town. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, the air heavy with disinfectant. Hannah curled into a cot, her eyes red from crying. Emma lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying every argument, every slammed door, every signature on the divorce papers. Her ex-husband had taken more than half their savings, left her with debts she hadn't even known existed. She had fought to keep the house, pouring every tip and overtime shift into the mortgage. But it hadn't been enough. And now she wasn't just divorced. She was homeless. The next morning, she swallowed her pride and went to the bank. The glass doors reflected her tired face back at her. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unkempt, clothes rumpled from a night without sleep. She forced herself inside, the cool air smelling of paper and ink. At the reception desk, she cleared her throat. "I need to speak with the branch manager. Please." The receptionist glanced at her computer. "Do you have an appointment?" Emma's laugh was bitter. "They just changed the locks on my house. I think that qualifies as urgent." The receptionist's expression softened. She picked up the phone. One moment. Minutes later, a man in his 50s appeared, his gray hair neatly combed, his suit impeccable. He extended his hand. "Ms. Hayes? I'm Robert Lane, the branch manager. Why don't you step into my office?" Emma followed him past rows of desks, each click of her worn shoes against the polished floor amplifying her shame. In his office, Robert gestured to a chair. "I'm sorry for your situation," he began, "but I need you to understand. What happened yesterday wasn't supposed to happen." Emma frowned, gripping the armrest. "What do you mean?" Robert leaned forward, lowering his voice. "There's something in your file, something the bank never told you. And if what I'm seeing is correct, this foreclosure may have been a mistake. Emma's heart skipped. A mistake? You took my home. Robert's eyes held hers. That house may still be yours, but you'll need to see the documents for yourself. And you need to prepare, because if this gets out, certain people will do everything to stop you. Emma's pulse thundered. For the first time in months, hope flickered through the cracks of despair. But before she could ask another question, Robert slid a folder across the desk. Its tab marked with a single word that made her blood run cold. Inheritance. Robert Lane didn't open the folder right away. He turned it once, twice, as if weighing more than paper. First, I need you to know I wasn't the manager when your loan was originated, he said. But I'm responsible now, and what I found in your archive, it changes the frame. Emma's fingers dug crescents into the armrests. Please, just show me. He flipped the cover. Inside were photocopies layered with original Blue Ink signatures. A refinance packet, escrow statements, a handwritten note clipped to the top with a dull brass clip. Robert slid the note toward her. The ink was familiar, careful, her late mother's. Emma, if anything ever happens, ask for the addendum. It's the reason we kept the house. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't exist. Emma swallowed. I've never seen this. Most borrowers don't, Robert said. He pulled out a thinner document. Stamped restricted addendum. Do not separate. Your mother co-signed your original loan a decade ago. When she did, she attached a recorded rider, the addendum. It states that upon her death, the property transfers to a family trust for your benefit. And this is vital. No acceleration or foreclosure may proceed without trustee notice and consent. Emma stared, the words hitting her in waves. My mother died last spring. No one notified any trustee. There is a trustee. Robert nodded. A small local firm listed here. He tapped the header. Samuels and Hart. I called them this morning after I saw the lock change order. Their records show they were never contacted. He let that hang. Without notice, the foreclosure is procedurally defective, potentially void. Hope flared too fast, almost painful. Then why did they take my house? He exhaled. Because the addendum wasn't in your active digital file. Whoever scanned your documents years ago omitted it. The foreclosure department never saw it. They worked from an incomplete record. So a missing scan cost us our home, Emma said, hearing the steel enter her voice. Robert met her gaze. It looks like more than a clerical oversight. The paper copy was misfiled in a retention box marked inactive. That doesn't happen by accident. He tapped another sheet. There's also this. He slid over a payoff statement dated 4 months ago. Numbers Emma recognized from nights spent hunched over spreadsheets. Down the margin, someone had scrawled reject, insufficient funds, then circled an entry fee Emma had never authorized. I made that payment, she whispered. I sold my car to make that payment. I know. Robert turned his monitor so she could see an internal note. Manual reroute, refer to REO desk. He spoke slowly. REO means real estate owned. Properties the bank intends to take. Someone decided your loan belonged on that track. Emma felt the old helplessness shiver through her and forced it back. Who would do that? Could be an outside servicer, could be a junior analyst at the foreclosure firm, Robert said. But there's a path to unwind this. If the trust addendum is valid, and it is, and the trustee was never noticed, and they weren't, we can petition the court to vacate the sale order and restore possession pending review. Restore possession? Emma repeated, testing the words like a bridge she wasn't sure would hold. Not overnight, Robert cautioned. And not without a fight. He slid a business card across the desk, Samuels and Hart, Trust Counsel, and another Elena Wu Home Defense Clinic. You'll need counsel. I'll sign an affidavit attesting to what I found. But Emma, he lowered his voice. Once this surfaces, people with money on the other side will push back. Hard. People like who? Emma asked. My ex. She heard the bitterness in the word and let it stand. Robert hesitated. Your loan was serviced by Arden and Pike. Their foreclosure counsel is Klein Barrett Aggressive. And the investor who bid on your house at the sale yesterday. He checked a printout. A holding company called Ashmont Ridge LLC. Emma frowned. Never heard of them. That's the point, Robert said. They bid often. They don't like to lose. A knock at his door startled them both. The receptionist peered in. Mr. Lane? There's a gentleman asking to speak with Ms. Hayes about next steps. He says he represents Ashmont Ridge. Emma's stomach dropped. Here. Robert stood. Tell him Ms. Hayes is in a private meeting. The door closed. He looked back at Emma. We're not finished. He turned another plastic sleeve. Inside, under the addendum, lay a faded envelope addressed in her mother's hand. For Emma, only if the bank comes. Robert slid it toward her. Emma lifted the flap like it might break the spell. Inside was a single-page letter and a photocopy of an even older deed, the ink nearly brown. The letter was plain and devastating. I never told you this because I wanted you free of their games. The house sits on 2 parcels. The second parcel, our garden lot, was paid off and deeded to the family trust years ago, recorded separately. They can fight for the mortgage parcel. They cannot touch the trust land without a court. If they try, you show them this, and you call the trustee. Love, Mom. Emma felt the room tilt. Their garden, the patch of earth where Hannah learned to plant tomatoes, was not part of the mortgage at all. It was the trust's. If the foreclosure swallowed the house, the ground beneath half of it still answered to her mother's ink. Robert's phone buzzed. He silenced it, jaw tightening. They're not going to like that. Before Emma could speak, the lights in Robert's office flickered. The receptionist's voice crackled over the intercom. Strained. Mr. Lane? Security just called. Someone pulled the fire alarm. And there are 2 men by the back exit asking for Ms. Hayes by name. Emma looked at the letter, then at Robert. The bank's lobby outside had begun to stir. Chairs scraping, voices rising, alarms whining in the ceiling. Robert pushed the trust council's card into her palm. Go out the side hallway. Straight to the elevator. Don't use the back exit. Emma stood, the folder clutched tight, the letter burning in her hand like a flare in fog. The alarm wailed louder. Footsteps pounded the corridor. A shadow filled the frosted glass of Robert's door. The outline behind the frosted glass didn't move. Emma froze, clutching the envelope, her pulse hammering in her ears. Robert lowered his voice. Go. Now. The doorknob twitched. Emma darted to the side hallway, clutching Hannah's backpack tighter against her chest as though her daughter were inside it. The alarm blared, red strobes flashing across the walls. Down the hall, an elevator dinged open. She stepped in, breath ragged, and jabbed the button for the lobby. The doors slid shut just as the office door behind her burst open. Muffled voices shouted her name. Outside, the lobby was chaos. Customers streaming for the exits, security ushering people out, smoke from a false alarm drifting. Emma pulled her hood up and slipped through the crowd. No one looked twice at a tired woman with a folder clutched to her chest. She didn't stop until she reached the bus stop 2 blocks away. The morning drizzle slicked the pavement, her sneakers squeaking with every step. She sat heavily on the bench, the folder balanced on her knees, and tried to breathe. The letter, her mother's voice lived in the loops of that handwriting. They cannot touch the trust land. It wasn't just hope, it was ammunition. Emma dialed the number Robert had given her. After 3 rings, a calm female voice answered, Samuels and Hart Trust Council. This is Attorney Hart. Emma's words tumbled out. My name is Emma Hayes. My mother, Margaret Hayes, set up a family trust. I have a letter and a deed. They took my house. But my mother said. Hart interrupted gently. Slow down. Do you have the parcel number? Emma read it off the deed. There was a pause, then a sharp inhale. Yes, I see it here. The trust owns that lot free and clear. Ms. Hayes, if the bank bundled both parcels in foreclosure, that's a violation. They cannot seize trust property without petition. If what you're saying is true, we can file for immediate injunction. Emma's breath caught. Does that mean we can get the house back? Hart's voice softened. It means they'll have to fight you for it. And given what you've described, they'll fight dirty. That evening, Emma found Hannah at the shelter cafeteria, picking at a plate of pasta. "Mom," Hannah asked, worry etched in her young face. "What happened at the bank?" Emma sat across from her, lowering her voice. "Your grandmother left us something. A protection. Half the property is ours by law. They tried to hide it, but now we know." Hannah blinked. "So we can go home?" Emma brushed her daughter's hair back, forcing a smile. "Not yet, but we're closer than we were yesterday." Hannah grinned faintly. "Grandma always had our back." Emma squeezed her hand, the first spark of real hope warming her chest. But hope drew enemies. The next morning, Emma's phone lit with an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A man's voice, low and sharp. "You need to stop, Miss Hayes. Walk away. The property's gone. Don't make this worse." Emma's grip tightened on the phone. "Who is this? Someone doing you a favor?" A click ended the call. Her hands shook, but she straightened her shoulders. Whoever he was, he underestimated her. For too long, Emma had let others decide her fate. Not anymore. That afternoon, Attorney Hart called back. "We've filed an emergency motion." The judge granted a temporary restraining order, no transfer of title until hearing. "You'll need to testify. Can you be here tomorrow morning?" Emma's chest swelled. "Yes, I'll be there." She hung up, her mind racing. Tomorrow could be the turning point. Either she would stand in court and prove her mother's words, or she would watch the last piece of her life slip away. That night, as Hannah slept curled beside her on the cot, Emma unfolded the letter once more. Her mother's words glowed like embers. "Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't exist." Emma closed her eyes, whispering into the dark. "I won't, Mom. I promise." But in the stillness, she didn't hear the figure slipping into the shelter lobby, asking the clerk for her name. The courthouse loomed tall and gray against a cloudy morning sky, its stone steps slick from last night's rain. Emma climbed them slowly, Hannah's small hand tucked into hers, the folder pressed tight against her chest. Each step echoed with the weight of what she carried. Not just papers, but her mother's voice, her family's dignity, and the last chance to reclaim what had been stolen. Inside, the air smelled of varnish and old books. Reporters clustered near the back, murmuring. On the front bench sat men in dark suits, representatives of Ashmont Ridge LLC, the mysterious holding company. At the center of them all was a man Emma recognized instantly, her ex-husband, Derek. He hadn't been there when the locks were changed, but here he was now, smirking across the aisle. Emma's stomach dropped. Of course, he was behind it all along. The judge entered, and the courtroom rose. Case of Hayes Trust versus Ashmont Ridge LLC. Counsel, proceed. Attorney Hart stood gracefully. Your Honor, the foreclosure was executed unlawfully. The Hayes Trust addendum, filed 10 years ago, specifically protected one parcel of the property from foreclosure without trustee notification. That notification never occurred. Furthermore, our client, Ms. Emma Hayes, has discovered evidence that payments were misapplied and that a portion of the property belongs irrevocably to the trust. The opposing counsel, sleek and sharp, rose with a smirk. Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt by a delinquent borrower to delay the inevitable. The property was foreclosed fairly. My clients acted within the law. Emma's fists clenched. She wanted to scream, but Hart placed a calming hand on her arm. Not yet, she whispered. When it was her turn to testify, Emma walked to the stand, palms sweaty, knees weak. She lifted her chin, met the judge's gaze and spoke. They told me I was nothing, she said. That my payments didn't matter, that my work wasn't enough. They locked my daughter and me out of our home. But my mother knew this day might come. She left me the addendum. She left me the deed. And she left me her words. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't exist. She pulled the letter from the envelope, her hands trembling. The courtroom hushed as she read aloud her mother's handwriting. Tears blurred her eyes, but she finished with steady voice. Your Honor, this isn't about hiding from debt. It's about honoring the truth. They tried to bury it, but it's here, and it's mine. Gasps rippled through the room. The judge leaned forward, examining the documents Hart placed before her. Across the aisle, Derek's smirk faltered. The Ashmont Ridge attorney shuffled his papers, suddenly less confident. The judge cleared her throat. This addendum appears valid. The trust parcel cannot be foreclosed without due notice, which was not provided. Therefore, I am granting a temporary injunction blocking transfer of the property until full review. Emma's chest surged with relief, but the victory was fragile. It wasn't final. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Emma, do you feel vindicated? Emma, how does it feel to take on a company like Ashmont Ridge? Emma shielded Hannah and pushed through. She wanted only air, space, quiet. But as she reached the steps, Derek's voice followed. Smooth, venomous. Enjoy the small win, Emma. It won't last. Ashmont Ridge doesn't lose. And neither do I. Emma turned, her eyes blazing. You already lost the day you walked out on us. For once, Derek had no smirk. That night, Emma and Hannah sat together at the shelter, the letter between them on the cot. Does this mean we get the house back? Hannah whispered. Emma brushed her hair back. It means we keep fighting. But now we're not fighting empty-handed. Hannah smiled, weary but hopeful. Grandma would be proud. Emma kissed her forehead. She'd be proud of you. As Hannah drifted to sleep, Emma stared at the ceiling, the sound of footsteps echoing in her memory. She couldn't shake the feeling that Derek was right about one thing. Ashmont Ridge wouldn't back down. And when the next move came, it wouldn't be in the courtroom. 2 days after the hearing, Emma returned to the shelter with Hannah, clutching the injunction papers like a shield. The ruling had given her hope, but it also painted a target on her back. That night, as rain hammered the shelter's roof, Emma was called to the lobby. A man in a charcoal suit waited by the vending machine, his umbrella dripping onto the linoleum. His smile was polite, but his eyes were cold. Ms. Hayes, he said, extending a hand she didn't take. I'm Mr. Klein, counsel for Ashmont Ridge. Emma stiffened. You tracked me here? We like to keep matters efficient. He straightened his tie. The injunction was a clever trick. But let's be realistic. You're one woman with a child and no resources. Ashmont Ridge has attorneys, time, and money. Fighting us will exhaust you. He pulled out a crisp envelope and slid it across the counter. This is a settlement offer. $50,000. Cash. Walk away, release all claims, and we forget this ever happened. Emma stared at the envelope. $50,000. More than she'd seen in years. Enough to rent an apartment, pay debts, maybe even start fresh. Hannah could sleep in a real bed again. But then she pictured her mother's handwriting. The words, "Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't exist." Emma pushed the envelope back. No. Klein's smile thinned. Think carefully. This isn't charity, it's mercy. Decline, and the fight will be public, costly, and humiliating. Her voice didn't shake. Then let it be. The next morning, Emma found a flyer taped to the shelter's door. Ashmont Ridge LLC, proud developers of tomorrow. A glossy rendering of luxury condos replaced the image of her old house and garden. Her stomach twisted. They've already planned to tear it down, she whispered. That afternoon, Attorney Hart called. Emma, they filed a motion to expedite. They want the injunction dissolved in 7 days. We'll need more evidence, something undeniable. Emma racked her brain. What about the payments I made? Robert found proof they rerouted them. Hart's tone was cautious. Unless Robert testifies, that proof will be hard to admit. Emma hesitated. Robert had already risked his job helping her. Would he go further? That evening, Emma sat outside the shelter, rain dripping from the awning, when headlights swept the lot. A familiar car pulled up Robert Lane. He stepped out, looking tired but resolute, holding a thick folder. I can't watch them erase your mother's legacy, he said. I'll testify, but you need to see this first. He opened the folder. Inside were emails, internal memos, and handwritten notes. Emma skimmed the pages, her breath quickening. They didn't just misfile your addendum, Robert said. They flagged it. Someone intentionally moved it to inactive records. And here, he pointed to a memo. Ashmont Ridge was in communication with Derek 6 months before foreclosure. He tipped them off about your financial stress. They wanted the property cheap, and he gave them the opening. Emma's blood boiled. Her ex-husband hadn't just abandoned her. He'd sold her out. Robert met her gaze. If we present this, it's not just about saving your home. It's about exposing fraud. But Emma, his voice lowered. They'll come after me too. Emma closed the folder, her hands shaking. Then we fight together. Later that night, as she walked back into the shelter, Hannah ran up, waving Emma's phone. Mom, look. On the screen was a local news headline. Divorced mom battles bank giants over family home. Their story was spreading. Comments poured in, some supportive, others cruel. Emma hugged her daughter tight, whispering, "We're not alone anymore." But across town, in an office lit by city skyline, Derek slammed the article onto a desk. Klein stood nearby, arms crossed. "End it," Derek snapped. "I don't care how." Klein's smile returned, sharp as glass. "Consider it done." The courthouse buzzed with anticipation. Reporters lined the halls, cameras perched on shoulders, pens poised. Emma clutched Hannah's hand as they entered, the injunction papers and Robert's folder tucked safely under her arm. She felt the weight of the world pressing down, but for the first time in years, she also felt steady. Inside, Ashmont Ridge's lawyers were already seated, sleek in their tailored suits. Derek sat beside them, chin high, the smirk Emma had come to know too well plastered across his face. When the judge entered, silence fell. "We are here to review the injunction on the Hayes property." "Counsel, proceed." Attorney Hart rose. "Your Honor, this is no ordinary foreclosure. What we present today is evidence of intentional fraud. Fraud that targeted my client, Ms. Emma Hayes, and undermined the very foundation of her family trust." She placed the folder on the table and began. One by one, she introduced Robert's findings, emails rerouting payments, notes marking the addendum as inactive, correspondence between Derek and Ashmont Ridge before the foreclosure ever began. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Even the judge leaned forward, her expression tightening. Robert Lane took the stand. "I discovered the addendum misfiled in our archives. It wasn't oversight. Someone deliberately removed it from the active file. Without that addendum, the foreclosure appeared legitimate. With it, the foreclosure is void." He paused, glancing at Emma. "I know this puts my career at risk, but the truth matters more." Ashmont Ridge's lawyer leapt to his feet. "Objection. These documents are internal. This man is violating privilege." The judge cut him off. "Overruled. Continue, Mr. Lane." Robert held up the letter Emma's mother had written. "This is proof she anticipated foul play. The trust parcel was never part of the mortgage. It was illegally bundled. The foreclosure, as executed, has no standing." Gasps filled the courtroom. Derek's smirk dissolved, replaced by a flush of panic. Finally, Emma took the stand. She held her mother's letter in trembling hands. "They told me I was powerless, that a piece of paper could erase everything my family built. But my mother knew better. She left me her words, her protection, her faith. This isn't just a fight for a house. It's a fight for every parent who sacrificed so their children could stand tall." Tears blurred her vision, but she forced herself to look at the judge. "I won't let them bury my mother's promise." The judge deliberated in silence, the courtroom tense. At last she spoke. "This court finds the foreclosure procedurally and substantively invalid. The addendum stands. The trust parcel is untouchable. Title will revert to Ms. Hayes and the Hayes Trust. Furthermore, the court refers this matter for investigation into fraudulent foreclosure practices." Her gavel struck once. Case closed. Emma exhaled, a sob breaking free as Hannah threw her arms around her. The courtroom erupted, reporters scribbling, spectators applauding. Robert gave a small, proud nod. Derek stormed out, his empire of smirks shattered. Weeks later, Emma and Hannah stood once again on their porch. The locksmith turned the key in reverse, unlocking what had been stolen. The rusty blue door swung open. Dust floated in the sunlight, but to Emma it glowed like gold. Neighbors gathered quietly, some ashamed, some awestruck. One woman whispered, "She did it. She beat them." Emma stepped inside, Hannah's hand in hers, her mother's guitar propped against the wall where it had always belonged. Tears slipped down her cheeks, not of loss, but of vindication. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't exist. She hadn't, and now she never would again. Emma's story proves that even when injustice tries to bury you, resilience can unearth the truth. From losing everything to standing victorious, she showed that love and determination are stronger than greed. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment about the part that moved you most, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. Because sometimes the house they try to take from you becomes the home that saves you.